Welcome to the Get With It podcast. I will be your host, Elizabeth. This podcast will focus on the decline of women in technology and how our grassroots organization works with the community to foster relationships and reducing the gap of women in tech. We will be talking with both men and women on how to continue to move the needle forward on those relationships. For more information, please check us out at getwithit.org. All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Get With It podcast. So this is 2019. We're doing something new and exciting, changing things up. We are going to be videoing along with the podcast, and we're at the Expeed Software. This is where
it's where it happens.
This is where it all happens. And so if you're listening to this, you can check us out. I do have a YouTube channel, Elizabeth Tolia, and this will also be on the getwithit.org website. I had a brain for a moment there. And the elizabethtolia.com website. So just to make sure everybody knows, we can't edit this. So, as usual, I will probably screw things up. And Darren, we love Darren. He normally goes through and fixes my messes. But this is it, right? This is a done
live and real.
This is real.
Authentic. This is the authentic Elizabeth.
You cannot get any more than what you have there. So to start us off on our video, we have Terri Bettinger. God, I always screw it up. I can't. And people who have listened to the podcast know that I screw up everybody's last name. So, it is what it is.
It's the worst thing that happens today.
That's
true. It's a good day.
That is true. That is true. So Terri has lots she's going to tell us about, but the most important one is she's on the advisory board of Get With It. So she's one of our peeps.
Trying to make the mission happen.
Make the mission happen. All right, so we're going to start off with
a little vitamin C intake.
She's got a little
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. She's got a little
vitamin C.
A little gin and blood orange going on in there. And I gave up drinking beer, so this is cider. Does that count?
Vitamin C.
No. I just got to shake from there. Darren, no, I'm good. So, all right. So, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
So we're going to go back. I know you're only in your 20s, but let's chat about your history.
Sure. My history.
I know, this could be like a This
could be I've told you I do the genealogy, right?
Exactly.
So my history can go back.
Wow.
Right now, maybe 22 generations we can go back. But let's not.
Okay. All right.
Let's talk about my technology history.
There we go.
I am a tenured technology professional. So my entire professional career has been within the technology space. Right out of college, while I was a political science and business and history major.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Muskingum University, an amazing liberal arts college in Eastern Ohio.
They were a big supporter of ours in Cleveland.
Yes, they were, and are looking to continue to be.
Yes, they are.
Came out. Started out of college in with my career at the old Bank Ohio, right? In a management development program, Bank Ohio with a C. Eventually, they became acquired by National City Bank, which was acquired by PNC. But I started as a management development professional, and so went through some rotations of different areas of the bank to kind of figure out where your affinity is and where your interest lies. And I literally halfway through ended up in the tech and ops space, and as part of my rotation, and just loved it. Wanted to just stop right there. I didn't need to go any further. But I immediately had an affinity. Now, this was back in the day of mainframes and COBOL and some of the more, archaic, I won't give the exact year.
Old school.
Old school.
Who's called old school?
Legacy. But I quickly immediately realized that this was going to be the future. Two, this was going to be the key business drivers, the key driver of business capability, of business enablement. I mean, I just felt that passion early on, even with some of the legacy technologies. And so
That early,
I just immediately. So became a developer, a programmer, liked it, didn't love it.
You could code?
I can code, and didn't love, but at the time, it really wasn't as integrated a team sport as it is now.
Okay.
So at the time, it felt very isolating, and I didn't love that. I am a people person. I am a team player. So I basically started moving through analyst positions, systems analyst, project manager, started getting interested in the infrastructure space. Again, at the time, a lot of mainframe, now moving to distributed computing. And so really started exploring all the areas around where I started as that, core COBOL developer. Started expanding to the areas around it. Again, loved it. Moved to different banks. So Bank Ohio became National City. Moved to Bank One, became JP Morgan. Went to Citigroup, running global investment banking platforms. And then about 5 years ago, realized that while I had been professionally successful, I felt a little disconnected from my community. I remember I was sitting in a far-off land with a team that didn't speak a whole lot of English, and I was bragging about Ohio. And I had an epiphany of, Ohio, a place I haven't been in 40 days. So 5 years ago, I completely redirected, both personally and professionally. I moved into the public sector, became the CIO of Franklin County. I immediately became engaged with a lot of my organizations, community organizations, certainly Women in Tech, right, Get With It, and others, and a number of other. I sit on the board of, for example, IC Stars. IC Stars is an amazing workforce development social enterprise working to bring non-traditional people of color, women, minorities, people who were not on your traditional 4-year MIS degreed path, but bringing them into the technology space, giving them an ecosystem, right? Not just the technology training, but life skills coaching, support network to help them be successful. And so I have been actively engaged in this community in a variety of spaces, working on STEM programs for developmentally challenged children. Love the youth program from our Get With It conference, and I think the more that we can engage young people, especially young people of color, young ladies, engage them, sustain them on that path, we will do amazing things tapping into that diversity.
So this might be news to you.
Yeah.
GirlCon
Yes.
is being hosted June 12th at the Fawcett Center.
Oh, that's awesome.
Through Get With It.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's
so
awesome.
We're starting to
Great.
get some marketing going, and we've had huge response from school districts. So
Good.
Yeah.
I think the earlier the better. I think.
Do you like GirlCon? Angela Lopez named it GirlCon, and we all supported it.
I think I'm going to be direct. I don't care what we call it, right? And I don't mean that rudely. It's all about tapping into that energy while they're young,
yes.
Showing them a path, showing them, right? The whole, if you can see it, you can be it.
Yes.
Let's show them what they can be. And I think, again, young ladies and people of color have such a great opportunity in this space to make a difference.
So the focus is going to be very hands-on. Good. So we have collaborated with Chris Volpe in Multivarious, and Christopher Judd, and he's with Manifest Solutions, and he's going to do a session on Raspberry Pis.
Oh, good.
And Chris is going to do a gaming youth session. and very
I would
interactive.
love for us to do some even 3D printing.
Yep,
We've
that's going to
done
be
that
there.
with some
Yep.
young folks that they really take to that.
We're going to try to do some laser printing too, but the machine, there's like some complications on moving this machine or whatnot. So I'm working with the Idea Foundry on how the girls can create something. And then while they're at the conference, we'll be off printing these and then bring them back for them. So,
Excellent.
yes. So the 3D printing, they're going to
Showing
have
them
their
robotics
Yep.
and everything that robotics
We have
can
a
do.
robotics guy.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Yep.
it'll all be
Holoponics and holographic technology.
Yes.
And how that integrates, particularly, I don't know if you remember in our Cleveland conference, right? In the Cleveland Museum of Art.
yes.
Using a lot of virtual reality and other technologies, but I think holographics will become a big part of helping aid people, for example, with disabilities to still experience, right?
Right.
Museums or zoos or other things.
So, with the youth track, I asked if we could do a virtual reality station experience.
Sure.
And I found out this is the craziest thing. So my daughter goes to Southwest Looking.
Okay.
And she said to me yesterday, we're learning about, or I said, how is school going, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, fine. She's like, oh, in social studies, we're learning about the Great Wall of China. I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, we have a VR machine. We have a VR thing, and we get to go up and experience it all.
Almost like an aerial tour
Yes.
of the,
And I was like, that is the most genius, if anybody's watching this or listening to this, that's the most genius thing I've ever heard for teaching history.
Sure.
I've never thought of it that way.
And go back to augmented reality, so using some of those same concepts again for people who have disabilities but may want to be able to experience again, zoos, museums, or great historical sites like that may not have the physical mobility to do that. Think about the world that opens up for them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go, school districts.
Get on it.
Get on it. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, and again, back to tapping into the youth, because I think, as you know, I do a lot of coaching and mentoring of very successful, capable women within the technology world today. And there's some common themes that come up, and I think those common themes can be solved by introducing, like some of the things that we've talked about, getting some of the more diverse youth, female, right, at a young age, and letting them see themselves being successful in this space. I mean, that, and helping them to really use their voice, right? Use their voice, learn how to use it timely, appropriately. But I think a lot of young people today, particularly young women, and I don't know if you've ever gone to like an invention league. I think schools go back. If we're going to lecture schools today, schools ought to, just like they have basketball leagues they should have invention leagues.
So they have the Lego robotic.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, they call it a club,
right? Well, but invention. So I'm going to these amazing children are amazing. They especially. The youth of today, they're so aware of the world around them. They're so aware, more so than I ever was just a few years ago. In my youth. But
Terri just learned how to use her Apple phone.
Just saying, when you're as young as I am. They're so aware, and they're so conscious. They're socially conscious of the world around them, and they want to make a difference. You go to an invention league and to look at the inventions that these young people are creating to make the world a better place, to make an impact on water conservation. They want to make an impact on saving children's lives. They might see a news story about carbon monoxide. No, it's not, but it should be. That's why I said we're going to lecture the schools.
Yeah.
Right now it's extracurricular based on an individual family or child's interest. It's separate, but I think we could really sponsor. But they are amazing. They hear a story about a child who drowns. They come up with the most creative and amazing ideas for life preserver systems. They hear news stories of a child that may have died because of carbon monoxide or left in a car. They have amazing ideas for sensors. They're very socially conscious and they want to make a difference. And I think, again, some of these youth programs, we could tap into that passion and really get them engaged.
Wow, I never even thought about those. That definitely...
It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
So, and I guess some of it is a little bit of jealousy that I wish that I had those opportunities. I think when I was young, I could have had such a leg up, right? The learning curve would have been a lot less.
I mean, with the way technology is and electronics, kids definitely... Yeah, like I watched my 7-year-old. We were doing math on the computer.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I know my login. And I'm like, wait, you're 7. How do you know? Shoot, I gotta write mine down.
Yeah.
And he just typed it right in. And
their aptitude, unbelievably. But that's a lesson for all of us right now, right? The pace of change within technology.
Right.
So go back to what we have to do to be successful in the field of technology, men or women. Adaptability to that pace of change. Adaptability to those new perspectives.
Right.
We have to be continuous learners. Back to, I do think maybe joining into the technology field after college, one of the things I think it did prompt me was I had to learn quickly. Right? So people who had gone and loved it all their lives and been that techno geek and went and got a computer science degree or the like, I felt like I had some catching up to do. But I think that was a good thing in hindsight because it prompted me to really get into that continuous learning mode. I don't think I've ever lost that. I am always, and you know me, we have conferences or whatever, and I don't sit in the VIP room and
she's out.
I go to every session possible. I want to learn. I literally, there's so much.
You'll laugh at me then. Here at Expeed, we I made the joke to Rao, the owner, that I wanted to learn front end like user experience, UI,
UX,
yeah. And he chuckled. And he said, oh, you don't have time for that without all the stuff you do. And I was like, no, yeah, I want to learn it. So last Friday, we had a meeting. And before the meeting, I was on LinkedIn learning HTML. And I walked into this meeting, I'm like, Ro, did you know that you have to do the tags before and after? And you have to have a document.
Like,
and he looked at me and he's like, are you serious?
Now she thinks she knows what she's talking about.
And he started laughing. He's like, boy, you really... And I was like, well, yeah, I want to understand more of... I'm not a technical person. I don't know how to code, but I want to understand what people are talking when we talk in these meetings.
See, and I hear what you just said. You say, I'm not a technical person. But, this day and age, I'm not really sure what that means. What is a technical person? Certainly, traditionally, a technical person was that network engineer that also fixed your computer and took care of your phone, right? So there's a legacy definition of a technologist. But today, certainly that UI, UX, right, the usability.
Right, user-friendly.
Is equally, if not more important than almost anything else. And so I think, the field, the spectrum of technology is so broad that playing in any of those spaces across that spectrum, you are in technology. You are. Sometimes I think you don't have a choice but to understand how they all work together. You being an enterprise storage engineer versus a business intelligence analyst, there's a point at where those intersect. Right. Cybersecurity, there's a point that intersects with all the other app dev and so I do think having an awareness of all of the components of that spectrum is important, but knowing where your passion is. Right. Am I passionate about that user experience and the usability? Am I passionate about the discipline of the infrastructure and the network where's your passion? But to me, there's technologists all across that spectrum.
And I would say for women, like I was an outsider to the IT world, the first words out of my mouth was, well, I don't know how to code.
Right. Sure.
And then it was told to me, well, you don't need to know how to code. You need to take your skills that you have, and before you know it,
Right. And continuous learning is amazing.
Yes.
The other part is, right, the internet. Love the internet. It's a great thing.
Google is my friend.
I believe it's going to be around a while. It's my prediction. But
and if it's on the internet, it's always true.
Saying,
right.
There are so many resources available. Go back to that continuous learning. There are people who, again, I've coached some people and they're like, they want somebody with agile. I really don't know agile. Google it. Right. And I don't mean to pick on Google as the end all search engine, but there's so many resources available. I even go to any Columbus library, right? If you have a Columbus Metropolitan Library membership, which includes like all the suburbs,
of them.
The resources that you have available through, lynda.com and other things, there's a ton of resources for people who want to learn new subjects.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If people say, I don't know what business intelligence is, right? There's so many free resources.
Yes.
For you to learn, explore, figure out if that's really where you have an interest. Then, yes, invest time and money into carrying that further.
Well, that's what I did with LinkedIn. I had no idea that they had like these beginner courses, and I was like, oh, well, damn, look at that.
I mean, Harvard, and MIT and others have amazing online webinars around specific topics. I think MIT just I did one or looked at one for business requirements, right? How to really build out good business use cases so that the development team and others again, it's the resources that are out there are available. It's overwhelming. You couldn't get to all of it in your lifetime. So I get sometimes a little bit, not frustrated, but where people say, oh, I don't have time to go back and get a degree. And okay, well, online 24/7 resources are unbelievable. Here's my thing also, what do you subscribe to? What do you read? Are you reading, and again, not to pick on, but are you reading a People magazine or are you reading Wired? Are you reading, right, what are you reading?
Right.
What are you watching? I mean, I'm not a TV watcher. Most people who know me know I don't do most of the shows they talk about. I have no clue and I don't watch. So I think it's back to your focus and your balance. What are you spending your time doing?
Right.
And the resources out there are unbelievable. What are you doing with your time to tap into those resources?
But I also don't think you necessarily need a degree.
I couldn't agree more. to an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah. So,
I think for a basis, if you're passionate, like me, I went to college, but here I'm in my 40s, and I up and changed my career. I didn't have a degree in computer science.
Right.
But I
am a little bit, I'm a little wishy-washy on that. Not really. So I agree that every single person in the technology field doesn't need a degree. I think the core importance is attitude and aptitude. However, so there's a time and a place where the balance of the team, right, comes into play. And sometimes the expertise, the depth of expertise that is gained maybe through electrical engineering, nuclear engineering, right? Some fields where that depth of expertise can't be gained without many, 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 many more years of experience.
Correct.
And so sometimes there is a value statement to having that degree. I'm not against it. I'm not oppositional to it. I think it's about balance. I like diverse teams. Diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences, diverse opinions, diverse thinking, diverse perspectives, because you need all of those perspectives to come up with a product or end product that actually serves all the people.
You should come to an XP meeting, because we definitely have that here.
Yeah. I believe it's that balance. You need all those facets of thinking and experiences to come up with an end result that serves all the people.
Everyone.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to when you were that developer.
Yes.
And that little
cubby.
Little cubby.
Yeah.
How many women were in your same situation?
Very few.
Okay.
If any. I'm trying to remember.
I put her on the spot.
Very few, if any.
Wow.
Yeah. And then what I found very quickly is that when there was an awareness of the gender disparity, companies would often bring in women, and often they put them in project manager or business analyst roles. So I felt like it was a bit of a superficial check the box. Yes, we have women, but very rarely were they putting women in those core technical roles. Now, at first, I thought it was for various reasons. I think in hindsight, it's actually a complement, an alignment, right? Women, general, and I'm going to generalize, although I don't believe everybody's a cookie cutter.
Right.
But women tend to be able to organize complex, challenging, and situationally diverse, when things are dynamic and constantly changing.
Yes.
Women handle that. Women multitask better. Women organize better. Women generally communicate. Their communication skills are better. So those are the perfect skills and attributes for project management, right? And so it actually is a compliment, but I'm not sure it was that conscious at the time.
Right.
And again, I think it, to some degree, created some devaluing, right, of women in the field. But I think now there's great recognition that women have equal capability for math, science, analytics, right, and some of the core skills that maybe were traditionally attributed to men.
Well, Kevin.
I do know
Dr. Kevin Croxall. I like to call him an astronaut. He keeps telling me he's not an astronaut.
He's brilliant.
We had the discussion. He was on the podcast, and we talked about women data scientists.
Yes.
And he said, I think it was equal, wasn't it, Darren, in his class? There were
excellent
4, I think, in his class.
Excellent.
It was about 50% women, 50% dudes. And it was...
Well...
Which was encouraging.
Good. And we also know that 53% of the workforce are women.
They're women.
Good. Now, the further we go up the scale of management,
correct,
executive leadership, and then eventually to the board, the percentage of women diminishes as we go up that scale.
Quite quickly.
So good, except then I would challenge, we're getting them in, we're interesting, right? They're interested, except women then leave the field of technology, significantly higher rates than men leave the field. Women leave the field for very specific reasons, right? Men leave the field for retirement, for better opportunities, for startups. For promotions. Women leave the field, right, for different reasons, right? Lack of inclusion, can't see a career path that looks like them, that feels like
promotion.
Them. Right, and the fact that that they could make the same amount of money working a lot less hours in a different field of interest. So that's very problematic to me, especially in cybersecurity. The number of women in cybersecurity is particularly low, and I would really like to see that change.
We had Connie.
I know.
On the podcast.
Or as I like to refer to her, the godmother of cybersecurity.
She is.
She knows everybody.
She does. And we had this, but after her, so she spoke at the Columbus, and she was telling me, she's like, I was nervous.
Yeah, she was.
Cybersecurity, kind of, everybody goes, ugh, right? And I was so fascinated because she was talking to, actually, Larry and I on the podcast, but she told me that she had standing room.
Yes. I loved her session. Did you see her session?
I did not, because unfortunately, this year, things are a little different, and I get to enjoy the conference. But the past few years,
you were working.
I was running around and handling things behind the scenes.
I loved her session. What her session really did was map the attributes that are relevant for cybersecurity. For the again, there's a spectrum within cybersecurity, right? From the more intuitive to the more analytical. And what she did, I thought, was a really good job of talking. If you're somewhere in the field of technology or around it, here are the attributes that you have or the skill sets that you have that would be a good fit and where in cybersecurity and how to transition into that. What skills to develop, what groups you should join, what you should read, what information you should get to really be able to be successful in cybersecurity. I loved her session.
She told me that she had about 20 people reach out to her on getting into it. And I was like, that's fantastic.
That is good.
So and then she went up to Cleveland. And did it again.
And I think that we are doing a lot. I go back to mentioning IC Stars or some of our youth programs that you've talked about. There's a Majumdar owns Cybervision, her own company, but runs Cool Tech Girls in Dublin.
Correct.
Right? Which, again, to sustain interest of young ladies. Here's the challenge. We are working very hard to get women and people of color into tech. Now we have to work equally as hard to retain, promote, and advance them.
Yes.
That, to me, is the next challenge.
That's the challenge, yes.
And I look at startups. My numbers might be a little dated, but in general, 5% of tech startups are led by women. There's a lot of reasons that go into that, but I think it's kind of back to years of pay disparity.
Yes.
Women tend to, again, I'm generalizing, but women tend to have higher child care responsibilities, higher elder care responsibilities, tend to take more responsibility within their community and their churches. So when they get to that point, they don't have the risk tolerance that men do, right? First of all, to take to a startup higher risk. It is interesting, though, because tech startups run by women tend to be far more successful and profitable than those run by men. And so how do we bridge that, that disparity?
We talked about Alicia Odie. I think I got her name right, Darren.
Not mine.
With Rev One. And she was telling us about all of the women startups.
Yes.
And very successful.
And again, I think it's...
but not very many.
Not enough.
Right.
And I want to be careful. Doug McCullough, who is just a brilliant, amazing person.
Doug.
He's so good at coaching me on recognizing successes. And, for me, I tend to, I want it all.
Right.
I want, total equality right now. Right. Okay. So we are making progress in a lot of spaces, and I want to feel successful and recognize those. At the same time, what I don't want to do is have people then rest, take their foot off the accelerator, and say we're there.
Right.
Because we're not.
We're not.
So
that's so funny that you said that.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, do you have a mentor? They were asking me. And I was like, well, yeah, I got a lot of them. People I always ask advice for. And they're like, well, do they have mentors? I was like, everybody has somebody that they call and get advice from.
Yes, they do.
Or mentor.
Well, they should.
Or they should.
Some people, and especially women, quite often don't have that mentor. Sometimes they think it's a sign of weakness that they have to ask for help, right? They see it as a risk to them of maybe sharing what they don't know with somebody.
Right.
And so quite often people don't, but every person, I don't care where you are on that rung, should have
you should have one.
You should have, I don't think just one. I'm a person, I call it, my board. This is my advisory board. But it's so important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Get With It, Angie, Dan, and Katie and I were always reaching out to each other, like, what do you think about this? How do I handle it? So, yeah.
I have been extremely fortunate in my career and in my life to have people around me who are so generous with their time, generous with their support, generous with sharing with me. I try to analyze that and say, how did I get so lucky? Right?
No, don't analyze it.
But I think in analyzing it, I think part of it is I've always been willing to ask for that.
Well, that's good.
That to me is the key. That I've said, hey, will you give me your perspective on this? I feel like I call it, I'm thinking like a pretzel, right? Where I've thought myself into a pretzel, where I'm just like, okay. And so I've never been shy to ask. And I think that's the key, is women being willing to ask, hey, can I pick your brain on this? And then when somebody thinks you're open to hearing new messages, they're willing to share. People are absolutely willing to help. All you have to do is ask for it.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So important.
So let's go back to the community.
Yes.
Because we love the community.
Yes, we do.
We do. All right. Could you name all the...
Could I name all the...
communities support you give? Where all your...
God, no.
I know, right? So...
I mean, mean, I think there's...
I See Stars.
Well, I'm on the board of a few organizations. Okay. I'm on the board of I See Stars. I'm on the board, executive advisory board for Get With It. I'm on the board of a wonderful organization called the Childhood League Center. Focuses on the ecosystem of developmentally challenged children, right? Mentally, physically, and otherwise. Amazing organization that has amazing results to help those children and their families and their ecosystem to not just survive but thrive in this community. You know me, I'm always guest speaking or engaging panels, women in analytics.
Yeah.
And
Darren, just so you know, we put Terri on the spot. Like, if we think the keynote's not going to show up.
Somebody's not going to show up, you'll be there, right?
So you're ready, right?
So I'm always open, and I also coach and mentor a number of people, the maximum that I can. I try to be, engaged with, and this is going to be that, concentric circles. So there's certainly the organizations that I am on, right? My name is, but I also try to then take that circle and expand it. So the people that I sit on the board with, when you get to know them and you understand their organizations and you understand what their then you can make connections of, hey, because I try to put people together. I find much more personal reward in helping other people to find their success than I do anything for myself. I really do. It's kind of weird, but that's okay.
Well, no, you're a selfless person.
Yes, but there's times and places where that's not always the expectation or the rewarded behavior. There are certain cultures, corporate cultures, that are a little more cutthroat, and you need to be that shark in the tank, right? That's the success criteria. And it took me a little while to realize, okay, can I do that? Sure, I can do that. Do I love that? Is that who I am? Is that how I, that's not where I thrive.
You at all.
No. And so, for me, then making those connections of connecting up, for example, a school that wants to really build a STEM program and introducing them to somebody at Battelle or otherwise that can help them to do that. That is that's awesome. That feels great. So, and then we have our CIO forum that does a lot in this community with our CIO Tomorrow conference, but then also with growing leadership. So we have
April 30th this year.
Yes, it is.
Okay, we just want to give a shout out to that.
Yes,
CIO Tomorrow, right? CIO Tomorrow.
CIO Tomorrow
is on April 30th.
Yes, and then Women in Analytics, always has stuff going on. I think the February Lunch and Learn, I will be speaking about teamwork.
And their conference is in May.
May. Don't ask me the date.
Yeah. John.
That's excellent, yes.
John is he's a volunteer for them.
Yes. We have our InfoSec, one of the biggest InfoSec summits in the country is here. Connie is a big part of that. She's on the board for ISSA, but then Tracy Jones, I think, is doing a lot with that this year as well. And so a lot of good women drivers of key technical, opportunities. We should all be taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm sure I'm missing some, and I'm going to feel terrible later. When
she's going to wake up tonight and be like,
why didn't I mention that,
Damn it.
But that's where I say again, there's always something. There's no, there's some folks that I have coached where they're like, how do I get to know people? Go to these events, listen, learn, meet people, talk to people, follow up on things that interested you, figure out what interested you. Even, Chase has women in tech.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Sessions, the women's fund, Weld. I mean, there's tons of organizations.
Weld's a great one.
That, again, are trying to empower, right? Enable, empower, and educate women to thrive. And so engage. I just say engage.
Meetup. If you're not on Meetup.
Yes.
That is like perfect. I get an email.
Absolutely.
I probably get 10 a day that tell me everything that's going on.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily just like IT related. Because I mean,
too bold.
Exactly.
I'm just saying. I don't know how I got that one.
Listen, but bullying's fun. Global. Have you ever globalled before?
Hey, you
I'm
need
gonna
to
do
stop.
it.
You just need to stop saying that.
But I like beer. And so I was like,
Okay.
So I get
bowling. It's a perfect.
Exactly. So like I will get like a meetup that pops up that's like, hey, we're going to this brewery.
Right.
And you just meet new people. And before you know it, they're tied to somebody you know.
So I'm going to go back to kind of where the women and people of color who have not come through the traditional ranks. That can be a terrifying
it's
event.
very intimidating.
That is why I always tell them, I will help you. Mm-hmm. There isn't a person when I've managed in large organizations, I have never had such an ego that I haven't been able to give any person 5 minutes. I've said that. I can give anybody 5 minutes anytime. So ask, say, okay, I want to go to this. Actually, it's great. Somebody reached out to me. We have these tech strategy events, right? Ben Blankera and the Collaboratory and Tech Lab. So we have a tech strategy event, and they reached out and said, hey, I'm not sure if I should go. I don't really know anybody. You're going. You will know me, right?
Right.
You will know me, and that will start the conversation. Because for some people that is very intimidating. It's
very intimidating.
It is. And so we have to help them. I don't judge that.
No.
I'm generally a pretty extroverted person and can talk to almost anybody. But I do not assume anybody can do that. And so I always try to
It's tough.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough.
It is.
And so that's always been my advice when people are like, you're so busy, but you seem to make it to all these things. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm here to support other women to get them to come here. Yep. So, huge.
Plan your day, plan your week, plan it, and work the plan, right? And some people, again, I want to be careful. You have kids, you have other obligations. It is a balance. It's a constant balance.
It is.
I do think, though, most employers, are far more supportive of your engagement in these things than you realize. Some people, I begin coach them, they're intimidated. Oh, I don't want to ask my boss. I think he won't like it. What? Ask.
What's the worst that they could say?
Ask.
No.
And I think that honestly, but ask with the pitch that your engagement in this will create these value statements. And I think, again, that's another big coaching point. Whether you're at work or whether you're doing professional development or what's the value statement that you expect to get out of this? That's why I don't watch a lot of TV. I have to be honest. There's no value statement. For me, I do things that I think are going to add value to my life. They're going to help me to be more whatever it is, more successful, more productive, more knowledgeable, more.
No worries, I will be watching the basketball game tonight. The Michigan State basketball game at 7.
Go Bucks. I watch sporting events, I watch the news. It's not, but I just think it is about balance that, there's a lot of things that you can do to enhance your not only capabilities and knowledge, but it's rewarding. It's exciting to go back to you watched a LinkedIn webinar and said, okay, I know what he's talking about now. I understand it. I can have a conversation.
It's an 8 series.
Doesn't that feel better?
Oh yeah. Because I just finished series 3 and I passed the quizzes.
Sure.
So that makes me feel good. Like, damn, look at me go. I can pass these quizzes on code.
Like I know what I'm talking about.
And
doesn't that feel good? Forget the value statement to your profession. Forget the it makes you feel good.
Yeah. And then I walked in here today. You're going to laugh at this. I walked in here today and I said, I'm going to build an app and this is the app I'm going to build. And the developers are like, do you know how complex that is? And I was like, well, you all are going to help me.
We're going to find out together. Yeah.
This is going to be a collaborative effort. But
yeah. That, and I love that your initiative to say, I'm going to try.
Yes.
I do totally unrelated, but I do a ton of my own home renovations. It's been I used to say it's cheaper than therapy. Now I just say it's therapy.
Oh, do you have a
it's
belt?
not cheaper. I have plenty of power tools. And
Do
I know
you?
how to use them.
Wow.
My thing is, a lot of people how did you learn to do that?
Bob Vila.
No. My thing, I tried it. I said, what is the worst that's going to happen? Is then I have to call somebody and pay them to do it? Why wouldn't I try to do it myself in the first place?
Right.
And so simply by making, and again, go back, Google, how did you learn to do what, hardwood flooring, install a cabinet, install it, whatever you're doing, like Google it. There are so many useful videos out there, that tell you everything you need to know.
See, we're probably sisters from another mother, but listen to this. I replaced a toilet.
There you go. It's actually not that hard.
It's not hard at all.
I mean, it does suck at certain parts, but
It's
not that hard.
It does. You're right. The only time it did suck is when I turned the water back on, and I had not screwed one of the bolts on, tightened it up, and water went flying everywhere. That was the worst that happened.
Turn it off.
So I turned off the water, and I kept.
But yet, in the workplace, in the technology environment, women in particular, but people don't have that initiative to say, screw it, I'm going to try it.
Yes.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen?
Water spray and I'll turn it off.
Exactly.
We don't do that in the workplace.
Fail fast?
Fail fast.
Yeah.
We don't do that in the workplace for so many other reasons, right?
Right.
And we've got to figure out how to encourage people to take more chances, encourage workplaces to encourage people taking more chances and reward that. One of the things I've always talked about, particularly with some of my colleagues, is reward structures, both conscious and subconscious. For many years, I would say in the 2000s and beyond, the reward structure was around, I'll call it the firefighters, right?
Right.
Things broke. Somebody responded and fixed it, and they are the hero, and we recognize them, and we give them gift cards, and we implemented culturally a reward system that was backwards, right? We shouldn't be rewarding, I want to be careful. We want to reward the people who fix the problems. We should be more rewarding the people who built systems that were so durable, they didn't break in the first place.
Exactly.
But yet those seem to sometimes just be the as expected. And
correct.
So we have to make sure in the workplace that back to, go ahead, try to install
just
a toilet.
try it.
Sure, just try it. Let's see what happens. Back to, it can be easy to stop learning if you don't have an environment, right, that supports that. It can be easy to defer and let somebody else do it, right?
It's easier that way.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
But yet it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
So my husband was like, I don't think you can do this. And I was like, I'll show you. See, that's my problem, is I have I'll show you.
Okay.
And then I read on LinkedIn where they say, I don't fail, I either learn or I win.
Sure.
Those are the two, there's no failure.
Sure.
It's either I learn or I win. And so...
Right, it's the whole Edison. I didn't fail.
I didn't fail.
I learned how not to create a light bulb
Exactly.
1,000 times over.
Right.
And he wasn't kidding. I know people make jokes out of that. He wasn't kidding. He's like, that's the process.
That's the process.
We have lost that somewhat.
Yes.
Now, I do feel like culturally it's coming back a little bit, right? That we do have some embraced cultures of, let's try it. Let's try it.
Yes.
In a controlled risk environment. Let's just try it. So,
what's the worst that happens?
yeah.
Can't blow anything up.
Well, I do have a T-shirt that I love that I did get from the NASA gift shop, and it says,
"Are you an astronaut too?"
It says, "Well, actually, it is rocket science." So, I do like that T-shirt.
You and Kevin, you're both astronauts. We should.
Can you imagine us in space together?
No, but that's hilarious.
He would be the best dressed astronaut in space.
He would be.
So.
He would be.
Yeah.
Side note: did you see his shoes today?
Of course.
Holy moly!
Of course.
He had.
Sometimes it's hard to not look at the tie to look at the shoes.
I know.
But, yeah, absolutely.
Wow, he was dressed to the nines today.
I prefer the blue velvet suit.
Oh, he does. Yes, he
one
does.
of my favorites.
Yeah. So,
but I think again, having that individuality is also tremendously important.
Yes.
Being okay with it, even more important.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of people who are individuals. They're different. They look at things differently, but then they're not always really okay with it. They always feel they're the outsider, or they're not.
Kevin owns it,
and
I love it.
And I love that too. And
love it.
I think back to women, people of color, right? Some of your non-traditional. We don't want cookie cutters in technology.
Correct.
We need to get out of those cookie cutters.
We need creativity.
We need those different personalities to drive solutions that fit different personalities. The world is full of different personalities.
Which
and our
reminds
technology
me,
solutions should, match that.
Darren, did you buy your fish flaps? No?
Oh, yeah.
You know Kevin's fish
I know.
flaps.
I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Darren was looking them up when we were podcasting,
No.
Kevin.
I'm not sure. I don't see you as a fish flop. Maybe pork chops or something. Something different, but yeah. Bacon
flaps.
It is the year of the pig,
It
right?
is. We had a discussion
So,
about that. Oh
bacon
my gosh.
flaps.
We can make bacon flaps. We were inventing
But it's all in
bacon
how you
flaps.
look at it. I
right.
have a lovely meme on my wall, and it's a little pig, and it says, "I turn vegetables into bacon. What's your superpower?" Right? It's all in your perspective.
That's right.
So,
Wow, that's a good one.
yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a
Everybody
good
loves
one.
bacon. I don't care who you are. Everybody loves bacon.
What's this? Bacon makes everything better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, wow. All right. Well, what other exciting news do I have to tell you?
Well, let's talk about Get With It.
Okay, great. Let's
talk about how we are expanding.
We are. So, we have a new Columbus chapter, and we have our president, Michelle Harris, and our vice president, Amanda Lang, and we have an Andrea and Amanda, and I just met them, so apologies. I don't know which one is the secretary and which one is the treasurer,
Okay.
but we're building up that community.
Yep.
They're so excited, which is great because
with the expansion of a team in Cleveland, right?
Oh, yep,
now,
we have, yes.
empowering our Columbus team.
And then we have
have
our good friend Jen Flates out in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We had a great conversation with somebody who I believe wants to head that one up.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're booming.
Yes.
And we're going to do GirlCon here in Columbus.
Which, is at the heart of
I
my heart.
know.
I am so passionate about that. I think, again, there are so many studies, and so many studies that show the more diverse your team, the more profitable your company. Studies that show the more women, right, the younger we can engage them, right, the more successful they are. There's so many studies that affirm all of. Now it's the question of making it happen. How do we?
Correct.
So I feel like Get With It is on that side of the coin of make it happen, right? We educate, we empower, and we connect women to thrive in the field of technology. And now starting that even younger, again, only creates that synergy even sooner.
So we're shooting for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th graders. So
Excellent.
I did not know this was a thing. I just learned this.
Yep.
That in the school systems, they now when you go into high school, you can choose a path of like STEM pathway
In some schools.
in some school districts. And the only reason is in Reynoldsburg, I'm going to use Reynoldsburg as an example. Our good friends at CareWorks Tech Caitlin invited me to come out. They had 10 girls that were freshmen.
Okay.
And they brought them to CareWorks Tech for a lunch and learn kind of thing.
Okay.
And Caitlin called me the night before and she's like, hey, are you busy tomorrow? Can you swing by? And I was like, sure.
I mean, the job kids like. But other than that, I'm not busy.
Good. So I did. And Kim and Caitlin put on this it was wonderful. Like it just made me smile because there was 10 girls and they were all from a STEM class in Reynoldsburg and they were very diverse.
Excellent.
Very diverse. And it was so funny is because everybody got up and talked about what they do in the tech. We had the chief marketing officer for York was there.
Nice. Okay.
And one of the ladies who does risk data analysis from York, because they're tied together, was there. And so I get up there and I'm like, well, I'm with Get With It. and we're having a youth conference if y'all want to come. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't gonna. So they were all excited.
Good.
And then we hadn't established an age. And I was like, I don't know, 5th through 8th grade. And all of them went flat. And I was like, well, what grade is this? And they were, because I had no idea. They were like, we're in the 9th grade. We want to come. We'll be going into 10th grade. That made me start thinking, this is a very influential age, that 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, where they don't know everything yet, but they want to figure out what path.
It's also the age where the social pressures become unbelievable. And so giving them, again, a view and a vision and aspirations towards tech.
Yes.
And giving them a network to support that social pressure, so important.
So the Reynoldsburg School District has a whole STEM community.
Excellent.
In the school district. And the teacher was totally, bye Kevin, come and say hi. We want to see your shoes actually. See, I told you this was live. There's no editing.
Tell me no animals were harmed in the making of those boots.
Put them right up on the table so that you can see those bad boys. Nice. Oh, with those blue socks. What kind of socks do we have on? All right.
Love it. So we love your choices, and we love that you own them.
Yeah.
It's even more important.
I told you he was snazzy today. He was all snazzed out.
All right.
Thank you.
3 meetings out of this outfit today.
4.
Oh, 4.
4 meetings.
And a podcast.
And a podcast. Look at that. Such a successful day for you. Bye, Kevin.
Right. Have fun.
Be good.
Everyone else back here is gone. So.
Okay. Thank you. So, the Reynoldsburg School District has this whole program of STEM. They have a STEM Academy, I think.
Excellent.
And people can go to it. Yeah, it's
excellent.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Which, is a good thing for a lot of reasons. It's also a necessity. It's crucial, right? The gap in the workforce that we have now is certainly significant and is only projected to become even greater, right? As many jobs become much more software based, right? We're asking manual laborers, whether it's manufacturing or truck drivers or others, to actually almost become software administrators and engineers.
Yeah.
Filling that gap is a necessity for this country, not just as a driver of equality and opportunity. Certainly the pay scale in technology is certainly good for our communities.
Yes.
But it's a necessity, right, to run some of the future systems that are critical to our infrastructure.
And we have talked, like Angie and I have had discussions about, nurses.
Yep.
Well, when you go to the doctor, they're on the computer. They're on their iPad. It's all technology focused now, because you're on a database and you can go to my chart and, and so to say that it's going to go away.
Yeah, even nurses, not just using computers, but even have you seen like phlebotomists, right? With even some of their jobs, again, have been enhanced, not replaced, but enhanced. With technology that they need to know how to use. When you start talking about exoskeletons, right, for people who maybe have had limb damage or spinal cord damage, and where physical therapists used to have a particular role, it's going to expand, right, to become how do we use those technologies to advance the concept of restoring the body, right? It's
technology's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. Like I said, the internet is sticking around, and I think, so go back to every school, and I want to say particularly in our more underserved areas, ought to have a STEM path for those students.
Yes.
Because I think that is the future, right? That is where the job skills will be needed, and that is where the job skills will be rewarded. I see STARS, again, very compelling to take people maybe who weren't on that path, who weren't on a traditional higher education path. They come into our program making on average $9 an hour. They leave our program at $22 an hour, and within 18 months are at $36 an hour. And that's then with benefits and tuition and other opportunities that they didn't have at $9 an hour part-time.
Right.
that helps everyone.
You
That
just
helps their
open so
family.
many doors.
That helps these young people be able to provide health care to their small children that they could never provide previously. Those are extremely impactful. So the more people that we can bring into that technology realm, again, rising tides lift all boats. And so I think it's important.
You're the second person to say that to me today.
It must be the theme of the day.
Oh my gosh.
How many other told you it was the year of the pig?
I had that conversation last week.
Because of bacon.
Because of well, maybe. I can't remember why that came up. But the rising tide,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're the second person to say that to me today.
But the concept is sound that...
It's because we're having a Twitter war here at Xspeed.
Oh,
We're having a Twitter war.
okay.
And whoever can get to 1,000 Twitter followers first wins, and the other ones have to buy lunch.
Okay.
And I'm losing. It's really sad. I know, right? It's really sad. I know, right?
Well, what kind of effort have you put into
I've
it?
been putting in a lot of effort.
Have you asked for help? Because I don't remember being asked to follow you.
Oh, well,
Just saying.
Terri, do you want to follow me?
Well, now that you've asked.
So, I've been throwing it out there on LinkedIn a
Really?
lot. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Are we? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll have
we're
to look
LinkedIn.
for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah. But you're right. Like,
Gotta ask.
I had to ask people, how do you get people to follow you? And, yeah.
I am a Twitter voyeur. I do not tweet. I have never tweeted. But I am a voyeur. I mean, I want to be aware and understand.
Oh, so you
But
like,
but this is back to prioritizing. I'm not an active participant on every social media platform, because think about the time that would consume.
takes a lot of time.
And what does that take away from? For me, it would take away from something in my mind, to me, is more value added. So I'm a voyeur, and I like the funny ones, but outside of that, I just don't do it.
So I'm the same way, where I'm always like, this takes too much time. My time is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this app. I'm going to go ahead and promote it.
Okay.
It's called Buffer.
Okay.
And I set up my LinkedIn and my tweets for one whole week, and it automatically just does it for me. So it takes me maybe half an hour on a Sunday evening, and I sit down and I plan out my week of tweets. But then when something really funny comes up, I do respond. I do post it, but I might go off of the plan. But yes, I have planned it out for the week.
Yeah. It's too easy to let that consume you.
Yes,
And
that's why I
again,
was like, that I can spend this much time doing it.
Which if the more time there is less time somewhere else, and
Right.
you gotta prioritize.
So, yes. We're at a volleyball tournament that are 12 hours long, and you just sit there.
Have nothing else to do but tweet the whole world.
They're long and painful. So, all right. Darren, how are we doing on time?
1 hour.
We're at 1 hour.
Wow.
Damn,
Okay, that's perfect.
yeah. We did good, huh? Okay, so this was our first live recording.
Our live happy hour recording.
It was. That's the only way I do these things
Okay.
now, is happy hour. If I was any kind of host, there would be like caviar or something on the table, but I'm not.
Slacker.
I am. So we need a Dan Greenleaf. He's like the money guy with the food and everything. So, all right. Well, thank you for watching or listening, right, Darren? And check us out at getwithit.org. If you're interested in the youth conference, you dropped your glasses. If you're interested in the youth conference, please contact us. You can go to getwithit.org and go to the contact us, and we will send out an email. Or you can just email me at elizabeth.tolia@getwithit.org, either one, and I will make sure you get connected to the proper individual who's heading all that stuff up. Well, I'm helping, but we're... Yeah. So, conference, the big Get With It conference, the theme this year is Blueprint for Leadership, and that's going to be September 30th. And Cleveland, it has not been decided quite yet. We're shooting for October-ish, November. So, that hasn't been decided yet.
No lack of opportunity to engage
Correct.
with your peers.
It's a fantastic time.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We have a good time. So, all right. I want to thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
And you can come hang with me anytime.
Anytime.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. We will see you next time, and feel free to drop us a line at getwithit.org.